again. So, hello. It's not so much that this topic is like needed because everybody's sucking. Like, that's not the case at all. Everybody did great in their own individual ways this week. Even some of the tougher stuff that I've been working with you guys on, even if it was hard, I saw you guys push through this week. So I'm super proud of you. And I don't want you to think it's, oh no, is it me? Can you guys hear me? You guys can hear me okay? Amanda, if you can, click audio. I think it'll give you two options. And I think you can do the dial-in radio. I think that should work. Okay. So this topic is not brought on by any, I know I tell you guys a lot that I hear reoccurring things from clients during the week. And that's what I decide my week lesson has to be on. So don't think that this is because, like I'm harping on you guys. In my experience, everybody needs like a recalibration kind of, let's recommit, because it's just human nature. And especially when we're doing something that's very focused on mentality, that's very lax, so to speak, as a diet, because it's what diets don't work, right? But that's all great and dandy. How do we stay focused? How do we make sure we're still prioritizing our health? And that's why these little recalibration calls are necessary, because even if somebody has stopped binging, which is amazing, or they've made all these huge strides, it's really easy to settle back into old habits or to be feeling like you're not making as much progress. So I just like to do these little powwows. I'm going to give you guys some different thought processes to have. I know you guys like when I help you think outside the box and I give you things that, make the gears turn. So I love doing these kinds of calls. But I wanted to speak out on one thing, and it's something that I have to reestablish for myself a lot. And that is, I'm sure my computer volume is up high. Should be. I'm at full volume on mine. Oh, okay. Sorry. I'm technologically challenged, so that's just a reoccurring theme. But, when it comes to doing this, you have to have, as cheesy as this is going to sound, you have to have a why. And it's different at different times as you make different progress. You may start this out saying, I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to lose 25 pounds, whatever. You may start this saying, I just want to walk up a flight of stairs. As you make your progress, you have to recommit to your goals. And that goal, as it becomes closer and closer, you want to recommit to different things that excite you. So the way that I start figuring it out to go deeper than the surface level, which a lot of people are used to kind of staying because they've never lost weight or have never kept it off, is to start thinking to myself, why are all of the reasons that I'm doing this? I could give you guys, the basic hoorah, feminist, like body posy, like the only person you're doing this for is yourself. But let's be friggin' real. That's not the case. There's plenty of people in our lives that we're doing this for inadvertently or intentionally. And that is something that I think we shouldn't shy away from in the name of confidence, but we should also remember that we're not being selfish by prioritizing ourselves. We're not being selfish by saying to ourselves, I have to focus on eating this way, or by making exceptions when you go to people's homes and they're cooking for you and you got to stick to what you're doing, or when, your significant other wants to lay on the couch and order takeout and oh my God, I have energy today. I got to get up and be useful, and I got to get up and, make some food for myself that works. I want to get away from the stopping thinking that it is important that we focus on the food to a degree. So what is your why? That's where you start finding out what's the most important to you. So I would recommend taking some time each day and just before you head off to bed in your notepad and your phone, just write a few sentences about why you're continuing to prioritize yourself tomorrow. Before you head to bed, before you start that next day of insanity, just right. And it does not have to be some literary genius. Like, it could truly just be a sentence. And every day you're going to add this to that one same notepad. I promise you, by the end of like a month or two, you're going to feel so just pumped for yourself, because every day you're going to be reconfirming and recommitting to yourself, the people around you, whoever it is that you really are doing this for, and prioritizing your happiness and your health. How do you guys, tell me in the chat, how do you guys like that idea? At putting one sentence to remind yourself why you're focusing on yourself the next day. It helps, right? And it's okay to focus on the food too. You know, I know that we talk a lot about mentality where it's kind of like, well, can I be strict about food? I mean, you could do whatever it is you want with your food. You could be as strict or not strict as you want. It is what it is. But by having that set for the next day, you're remembering that it's not hopeless. Like, because how many guys can fall into this, right? You try, and then something is way too easy, and you're like, well, what's the harm in having it? And then before you know it, that's dictated to you many times throughout the week, and it becomes a pattern. So you can put it in in your journal for the next day. You could say, oh, I'm doing this to not let food have control over me. You know, or I'm doing that, you know, tomorrow I am going to avoid excess sugar because it hurts my stomach. You know, like, you could do stupid things like that. You don't have to put some big, very philosophical why down for the next day. Just kind of keeping yourself in the reality. Yeah, it's a good way to keep motivation up, move forward one day at a time. I love that. Yeah. Reinforced it in my brain. So awesome. Because the thing I want us to pay attention to is, if you've seen in the page, I have something called the worth it questions. If you haven't checked it out yet, definitely search the Academy page. Am I breaking up? Can you guys hear me? Technology forsakes me on the regular. My Wi-Fi is fine. Yeah. At the very least, hopefully the recording is okay. But I want you guys to check out the worth it questions on the Academy page. And if you haven't already, get to it, because I think it'll clarify a lot for you. Because there's a lot of people who do the worth it questions, and they actually make sure it's worth it when they're having something that they know is going to hurt their body. And then a lot of times, and we're all human, we forget to like run through all of them when we're in the moment. And that's okay too. But by peeking at it periodically, not just when you need it, you'll remember it. Like, when you're in that moment, you'll remember a specific worth it question that sticks out to you. And you'll be like, oh, okay, maybe not worth it, you know, on your own, instead of it being a rescue after the fact when you're like really hell bent on eating that thing. You know, you'll be able to view it clearly, because this is something I want you guys to watch out for as we're recommitting. Is you are great with the worth it questions at first. You know, you start out doing this and you are by the book. You follow everything to a T, and then you have a worth it moment. And you're like, you know what? I don't feel that bad about it. This is awesome. And you should, because it's just food. So you have your worth it moment. You eat that thing. You feel good about it for once instead of guilty. And then it becomes different. It becomes way easy to worth it a lot of little things along the way that if you're looking back at your week, you're like, well, I didn't eat any of that when I first started. And that's where the falling off mindset comes. And then you hit this point. Tell me if anyone's relating to this. Then you hit this point where you're like, I've been so crappy at this for so long. Like, I need to just have an overhaul and get all the way back in and be super good this week. That's what is pushing binge restrict cycle still. It's not going to go away overnight. So if you're thinking this, I'm not surprised and I'm not mad. I'm not disappointed. This is part of the program, is you having that moment of you're like, I'm superwoman. I'm so strict. I'm doing everything great. And then slowly feeling the falling off period, and then feeling like I suck. And it's kind of a repeat of the past. But instead of you having to feel bad about it, I want you to tell me. And most of you do, you know, I know some of you, when I stop hearing from you every day, I know that that's what's going down, but I know to expect your text eventually. So just know, if you're watching this and you're like, oh my God, that's literally me, you should feel no embarrassment about telling me that, privately, whatever, because that is normal. And how I coach you through that is how you'll learn to beat that in the future when it tends to happen again, without feeling like, oh my God, I fell off, I have to get back, I have to be strict. No, that's going to keep you dieting forever. So that being said, a good way to know if you're slipping into that is, don't go back on looking at the worth it questions, because there's a difference between justifying and worth it. If you are justifying something and you're working real hard at thinking they're doing the logistics, oh my God, it's been a month since I've had an Oreo. Yeah, I had stuff at work last week, but that was last week, and this is an Oreo, and it's not the same as like the thing I ate last week, and I never have them. And it's just one, and it's not going to kill me. You're right. It won't kill you. It's just not going to help you either. So if you have to justify to a huge extent, it's different than it being worth it. It's different than having a birthday party with a family member and wanting to eat a slice of cake with them. Or it's different than, you go to a restaurant you literally never go to, and there is one specific favorite of yours at this restaurant, and you won't be going back there forever again. Those are worth it. You're on vacation, and my first international vacation, I was what I thought at the time was keto. I was not keto, as it turns out. I've never been that strict in my life, but I hyper focused on everything on that trip. We were in Mexico. We were at an all-inclusive resort, and I still remember getting like veggies and salads and stuff, like so different. If you can even imagine me being like that, like so different. And that was the trip that changed everything for me, where I was like, I'm never doing this again. This is bullshit. I'm not allowing my life to be dictated by food like this anymore. We went to Italy last year. It was like I tried to eat all the pasta available in Rome. Like there was no stone left unturned. Every 2 hours, I was on a steady gluten diet. Like it was surprisingly the only place that gluten's never bothered me. We went to Croatia, and I tried that still thinking it was a European thing. Croatia and us, we have the same gluten, so that wasn't fun. But in terms of enjoying yourself, like that's worth it. If you're trying to decide if it's worth it because there's like one Milky Way mini left in the bowl at work, that's not worth it. You're justifying. And those little by little add up until it becomes an issue of feeling bad about yourself. And then when you feel bad about yourself is when the binge pattern starts again. So eliminate that. 1, reach out. Use this as a support system. All you ladies here watching this at some point will experience this in some way. You all have each other, reach out to each other for support. You have me, obviously. Text me. Don't ever feel I'll ever ridicule you or like reprimand you or be like, you suck, you're not doing it right. That's not my job. My job is to know when you're not doing it right so I can help you. So reach out, realize if you are justifying or if it is worth it. Figure out your why and get excited about it every day, even if it's little. These are tools we can use that keep us sharp and keep us fresh on what we're doing for ourselves when life and complacency and stress and just the life we've had for decades now comes creeping in, because it's not going to change in a month, in a year. It's going to take time. So these are the steps that I do when I feel myself slipping. So is this helpful so far? Or you guys are liking this? Is it resonating with you? One thing I want to see us all get rid of, all of us, just throw it out. Just throw the whole thing out. I don't want to see anybody proclaim that they're disappointed in themselves in any way. I know that seems so hard, but I want us all right now, like in the comments, I want you guys to like respond to me. I'm sorry, my brain's mush. I'm not making words. But right now, who commits to stopping talking shit about themselves? Because I know it's so difficult, but it does nothing. You can state the problem in which you want to improve, which I'm going to get to in a second. Some of you I've already done this with, and you're doing great. But I want you to say something right now about, I promise I am not going to talk shit about myself. If there's something I'm unhappy with, I'm going to ask how I fix it. Because you can do that. You can say, you can say to yourself, there's this quality I don't like about myself. So what's a question I can ask about fixing it? So awesome. I'll quit being shitty to myself. Yep. No room for it. It's really shocking, isn't it, Evie? Like, people think when they come into this, a lot of times, some come in knowing it's not about weight. And then some come in all about the weight. But either way, not being mean to ourselves is really hard. And I get it. And you're not going to be perfect at it. That's why I'm saying, when you feel the temptation to, reach out, because I'll help you through it. And when you reach out, just ask a question instead about what you want to improve. Those of you watching who I've done this with, you can comment if it's been helpful. If you are somebody who says things like this, like, God, why did I do that? I don't know why I said it like that. I don't know why I did it. Why didn't I just do this instead? I don't know why I did this. I don't know why I can't just, if that's you a lot, you need to do this. I want you to have a note in your notepad called things I want to learn or things I want to improve. Anytime you go to say, I wish I could just blank, or why can't I just learn how to blah, 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 put it in the list. Instead of it sitting there it's like you can never do that thing, or you can never learn how, or whatever. You now have a running list of stuff that you are working on. It changes the whole narrative in your head from coming from a place of this will never be better to this is what's got to get better. And that simple shift is huge. Mine's called I don't know why, but I want to learn. Yeah. And it could be little things. It could truly be like, how do I not sound like a bitch in the morning? How do I deal with idiots at work? It could be like, how do I not get overwhelmed figuring out dinner? Doesn't have to be tangible things. It could just be things that you'd like to not struggle with anymore. And instead of it feeling like it's hopeless, you're now putting it in a list, which immediately programs our brain to think of it as a task-oriented process or solution-based process. So that's hugely, hugely helpful, at least for me as well. It's helped me not be so hard on myself. I actually get excited by the prospect of learning something new now. Instead of before, I was like, damn, I suck. Why don't I know it already? And that's the trap we fall into. And that's why we get really hard on ourselves. How can I deal with my husband's negativity? It's a little bit of thermometer, not letting it in. And it's a lot of just Netflix and headphones. I don't know. You do what you got to do. But sometimes you got to just know that you can handle how you feel about things. You can't change other people more than they're willing to work and grow. So it's hard. It's nowhere near the answer that I can give you in this time, but I feel you, girl. So I also have some notes written down on here. Bad days don't get better with bad actions. So for anybody who's thinking on a bad day that it would be really great to eat something so full of sugar that you can't feel your face when you're done. Yeah, that might feel good in the second, that split second. It might feel better than the day you had, but it doesn't do shit for your day. It doesn't change how your day played out. It doesn't give you answers for anything to come. It just makes you feel worse. It makes you feel worse about your own discipline. It makes you feel worse about your future. And this is speaking from personal experience from my binging in the past. I'm not even telling you what you should feel. At least for me, it was a momentary fix that led to a lot more self-sabotage and a lot more negative dialogue in my own head. And it would always make things worse in the long run. So if you're having a bad day and you have the concept of screw it, I had an awful day, I don't want to cook, I'm just going to order a really, really great pizza, I don't know, pasta, whatever tickles your fancy. I want you to stop and think, what's asking you to order that? So that's a question that I ask myself if ever you guys have felt something you don't know why you're feeling, and it's the most frustrating thing in the world. You don't even know what you're feeling exactly. I ask myself, what's making me like blank? Like if I was ordering a food, like something at a restaurant, or I wanted to go out and get candy or something like that. Cause that used to be, I would eat real clean and I would go eat like 60 to 80 grams worth of pure sugar late as hell at night. Cause I'd go stop at a gas station and load up on Willy Wonka candy. Like that was for me. That was what I would do. So I would say to myself, what's making me buy this? And having to think about answering that, like having to think about what is making me justify this? Like what is making me buy this right now? By the time I figured that out, I didn't even want the damn candy anymore. I just realized that I was really upset and that I had to sit and deal with that. Because I'd have to deal with that on a sugar high in an hour, feeling like a guilty Oompa Loompa. And like that wasn't going to solve nothing. So see what I did there with the Willy Wonka? So bad days don't get better with worse actions. And that's something you have control over. 1, how you feel about your day. 2, what you do about your day. You know, I had this conversation with a couple people throughout the week that whenever you're starting to feel really, really upset about something that happened earlier or a couple days ago or whatever, or whenever you're feeling really overwhelmed or really just hopeless or whatever from the day before or earlier in the day, realize you're only responsible for what is right now. Like you're only responsible for now. You can't do anything to fix anything at work when you're home for the night, can you? No. Is anybody expecting you to? I mean, not to those people who work from home, but like, is anybody expecting you to put out fires at work while you're home? No. Is anybody expecting you to do anything, figure anything out, be groundbreaking when you're at home? No. We're expecting that of ourselves. So when you're thinking that and you're sitting there in your whirlwind of emotions and stuff like that, remind yourself you're only responsible for right now. Obviously, come work tomorrow, you won't be. You have to like do work. But, you know, for when you're home resting and your thoughts from the day are still consuming you, pull that back in and remind yourself. What else did I write here? Tired isn't a reason. And frustration isn't a reason. If you know that eating something that you're not even that crazy about, but you're just exhausted, that is giving in, but that's not even giving in, because you have me, you have the group, you have the page, you know, type in there. Like today I had somebody message me, there's this, and this restaurant on the way to my next appointment. I can't do anything else. I didn't plan meals, like blah, blah, blah. And they were really beating themselves up for not preparing food to bring with them. We're all human. You think I always remember to prepare food to bring with me places? Please. I wish I was like a super methodical and perfect person. I'm not. But there are ways around it if you're at certain restaurants, if certain takeout places, and I want to teach you those. So reach out to me or ask in the group chat, because there's other people that I've helped that probably know the restaurant too. But that's not a reason to have something or do something that really is bad for you in terms of body-wise, pain-wise, things like that. Always exhaust every option and tell yourself, like, yeah, I'm tired, but it really won't require that much physical energy. It's just mental exhaustion. And then utilize the resources that you lovely ladies invested in and get help. Okay? No one will think any less of you if you don't know how to figure it out. Avoidance doesn't solve shit. Avoidance is a very popular anxiety tactic. I'm not taking anything away from it. I used to not open my mail. Like I would just straight up get mail that I would put in a pile somewhere I didn't have to look at and never open it. And I was getting credit calls, like credit bureau, like, oh, I forgot, I don't know, you know, and it was just because I was avoiding the fact that I couldn't cover those bills. And a lot of them weren't even bills. Like I looked at them after I got over it, and it was just like stupid, like you've been pre-approved for $3,000, like bullshit credit cards that they send you that looks really official, and then you open it up and you're like, okay, Capital One, sounds great. You know, but it was the fact that I avoided it for so long because it gave me comfort to not have to think about it. So if you find yourself avoiding these recordings, or avoiding them live, and then avoiding the recordings, avoiding texting me, avoiding, you know, interacting with the group like you used to, or being as involved, that's not going to get you to a point where you're able to hop back in on your own. Utilize the support. You guys have been going this alone for a really long time, and you don't have to do that anymore, but you also don't have to be perfect from the jump either. You know, nobody here is going to think you suck if you don't get it right the first time. You know, I had ups and downs with my weight for a long time, and I still kind of do to a degree. I don't freak out if my body goes up and down 5 pounds, 10 pounds in the winter, or whatever. You know, I just live my life the healthiest I know how to live it, the happiest I know how to live it, and it all just kind of equals out eventually. That's what I want for you guys. But trust me when I tell you, to get there took a lot of learning about myself and failures, so I had to know how to work around that. And that's what I'm here to help you guys do. So when you're feeling like you have to avoid because you're failing, I want you to force yourself to reach out and be like, I feel like I'm putting this off and avoiding you because I can't come to terms with the fact that I suck. Just tell me that. It's my job to help you guys through it. And all of you are going to experience that at some point. So also use each other. Well, sounded awful. You know what I mean? Utilize each other, support each other. I notice I expect myself to get it right the first time, which is, it's not crazy. It's common. It's common. Nobody wants to be the girl that could never lose weight, who comes into an investment of a weight loss program, and then fail. Like, nobody wants to be that person. Nobody wants to be like, I'm going to get it wrong 5 times. I'm excited. You know, everybody has the idea of being on the ball all the time, but that's not life. You can plan and plan and plan and plan. And sometimes shit happens. Like, there's no way around it, especially with our whacked out bodies. Like, we're also all a little bit unique in our own way in terms of health and issues we're facing. You can't set such a high standard for yourself, because it's like signing up to kick your own ass then, basically. And then the last thing I want to talk about the scale. So the scale. I can't tell you guys how many people come into this that are like, oh yeah, no problem, I don't have to weigh myself. And then I get the message halfway through the week. So I know, don't yell at me, but I weighed myself. And each and every time, I just want to be like, how shitty do you feel? Not because of me, because you didn't listen to me, because there's a reason I suggest not to weigh yourself. And it's not because I don't want you to see that, like, I'm just jerking your chain and it's not working. It's because I know you're going to feel disappointed, because in that moment, even if I go to a doctor's appointment, I ask them not to tell me the number on the scale, not because I'm horrified if it's higher, but because I know that human nature is to sit there and just pick ourselves apart. And I don't even want to spend 2 minutes doing that and have to pep talk myself out of it, you know? So I ask this of other people. I was so bad about that. I haven't even seen that bitch in 3 or 4 months. Yes. I noticed that. Oh, wait. Okay, cool. We're caught up. So I ask the clients who weigh themselves. I say, every time you weigh yourself, can you say, I am signing up to feel like shit today? And see if you want to get on that scale. Because truly, I've had clients who have lost pant sizes, myself included, have gone down a pant size, but the scale has been the same or a little higher. And it's all because there's no number on the scale to dictate your pant size. No number on the scale is going to tell you how much smaller your waist is, or how much you've toned up, how much inflammation and swelling you've lost in your face. That's not going to show up on a scale. All we're going to see is that we're not the number we want to be yet. And there's no wiggle room of comparison there. There's no saying to yourself, even though we logically know it's not like you could have just not crapped enough that day, logically we know that. But emotionally, it's a reminder that we have so far to go. It's another reminder that it's not what we want yet, even though we're trying. It's a reminder of all the awful stuff we don't want to have to think, but it makes us think that. So every time somebody wants to prematurely get on the scale, I want you to tell yourself, do I feel like feeling like shit today? And it's not because it's not working. It's just because it's not the right way to track progress. Will the scale ever tell you any improvements you're making in your energy levels or, your overall sense of happiness? your quality of sleep, how your stomach feels. Those things aren't dictated by a scale, but the scale is powerful enough to derail you from the progress you want to make in those other areas. It's human nature, So measurements are great, but they ain't going to change overnight, just like the scale won't change overnight. So you got to wait on those. Pictures are great because you can really see, like you can take pictures of little things that you can compare your face as you're going. Typically, when inflammation goes down, this area is the first thing that you see a difference in. Take a bunch of before pictures. If you're watching this and you're like, I'm a scale addict, then what I'm encouraging you to do, take a lot of little specific pictures, before pictures. If you want to compare your ankles, because your ankles swell up. If you got rashes and you want to take a picture of that area to see what's improved based on what we do. Don't be afraid to monitor yourself for the sake of learning about your body. But don't monitor yourself in the name of looks, because those two don't correlate a lot of times. And it's just us being our worst to ourselves. Does this make sense? Is this helpful? Yeah, little pictures. I've taken pictures of everything. Like the first time I was able to fit my calf into a normal size boot, and I didn't have to get like the plus size boot that never came in my shoe size. So annoying. Like the first time I could zip up a boot all the way. Things like that. Like those were little successes that I paid attention to. The time I got a ponytail that finally felt like a ponytail and not a normal person's one pigtail. Like little things like that over time, they keep you amped to just keep doing what you're doing. They don't keep you amped for the weight loss. They just keep you like pumped up. Like I enjoy what I'm eating and I'm seeing that I'm healthier. And these are fun little things I can experience along the way. And I promise you the weight will come off with it. So thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I hate the scale. I wish that they like weren't allowed in residential homes. Ugh, but all right, that's all I have for notes so far. But I want to address any Q's and A's that you guys get what the hell I'm saying. I want to do a Q&A and address any questions that you have. I used to be obsessed with the scale. Yeah, and also think of it like this. Like it's not that exciting. What are you going to lose from day to day? Couple ounces, big whoop. I'd rather wait and like get more bang for my buck. Like I'd rather wait 3 months and see like a 10 pound, 15 pound difference and be like, hey, I don't know when that went away, but sweet. Like I felt good this whole time. That's how I lost my first 15. It took me 6 months to get on the scale again because I was like traumatized from my past. Do you guys have any questions for me or anything you want me to elaborate on or anything at all? Nope. I hope no one's typing. I wish it gave me like a little iPhone preview of like typing, It doesn't. So I just chatted with those of you who have been messaged by Olivia. I'm so sorry. My social media assistant. She's also going to be taking over some other tasks for me. And a few of them are going to be helping me streamline and make sure that the meat of the week comes out when I say it's coming out, complete with recipes and grocery lists. So she will be helping me with that to make sure that it's good for you guys and it's systemized. She's going to be helping me with a lot of new resources and projects for the page. So definitely stay tuned for that. And if you guys ever need anything in terms of recipes, meal plans, questions about meat of the week, things like that, I want to start having you guys directed to Olivia, just because it's taking me longer and longer to get back to you guys as my schedule fills up with calls. So now you guys have Olivia, so she's able to help you guys out as well. So any kind of admin stuff, you can definitely message her. How do we connect with Olivia? She's actually in the chat. I put her in the Chronic Confidence chat as well. So if you want, you could see that and you can add her as a friend on Facebook, or I'll just have her send her Instagram handle or her preferred method of contact in the group chat for you guys. So you have that. Oh, I want to see. I'm proud of you too, girl. This is the cheesiest thing ever. You got to show up to grow up. Ugh. But I'm proud of you. So yeah, this is great. This recording will be up. Keep an eye out on the page. I will have Olivia send you guys her contact info. And if you have anything you want to share from today that stood out to you, you know me, I'm a mush. I love hearing it. So feel free to send any feedback that you have my way so I can keep making these great for you. And I will talk to you all throughout the week. Enjoy the rest of your night, all right?
Question.
Oh, wait, what was up?
Sorry. Mina
I didn't even be like, what? What's up?
It's okay. I just saw Mina asked, she had a question, and she said, how do you specifically get back on track?
Oh, okay.
She was like at the very end, though.
How do you specifically get back on track? The biggest tip I could give is not thinking of it as back on track. The biggest tip I can give you is take the power right away from it and just be like, okay, so I'm just going to make sure I eat the way I need to now. And anytime you're about to veer off of that, be like, nope, I recommitted. Like, no, is it worth it to me? I can't not sing the Missy Elliott song, but is it worth it? That just keeping asking myself those questions. It's not so much I fell off, I got to get back into it, because that is binge restrict. You want to always think of yourself as this is the way I eat. And sometimes you just been eating more stuff that hurts you than helps you, and you just don't anymore. Like, by making it as casual as possible and removing the big overwhelming process of like getting back in or getting back on top, I fell off. Removing that completely and realizing I just have to not eat that stuff. Like, it sounds stupid, but it helps a lot. Because for me, when I was going to get back in, it had to be this kind of like project I amped myself up for, instead of just like living this way, which felt easy. A few weeks ago, I was falling off, I guess you could say, because I was making a cake for my sister. It was her graduation party. I was working with Rice Krispie treats, which are gluten-free, and I was like snacking here. And then one day my stomach was killing me. And my joints, I looked like I had gained probably like 15 pounds. It was just swelling from all the sugar that I was just picking at. Like, it wasn't intentional. I wasn't binging. It was just, as I was making the cake, which I don't do very often, I guess I didn't realize that I would snack on Rice Krispies. And it sucked, but it wasn't like oh my God, I got to get back in. I got to make sure I don't eat carbs this week. I got to like be really good, eat lots of veggies. None of that. I was just like, oh wow, can't have any more Rice Krispies for a bit. And it was not a process. It's just easy. And I think you could tell by my face, I'm back to my non-swollen self. It's crazy. You guys see my skin erupt last week and my face blew up and stuff? That was a couple weeks after the whole eating sugar again. That's what sugar does to our bodies. It's nuts. Nuts. Does that answer everything? Just realized I'm sweating my ass off in here. God. I need to get air conditioning. All right, guys. Love y'all. Enjoy the rest of your night. And if you have anything else that you need to ask or you want me to clarify on, just comment it when I post this in the page. All right. Bye.